Hi, everybody. Hi, I'm Chad Alligood. I'm a curator here at Crystal Bridges, and I am a co-curator of State of the Art, Discovering American Art Now. And can you believe it? There's only 1 week left in the show. How many of you have seen State of the Art? How many of you have seen it more than once? Well, you have a chance tonight, right? We're open late on Wednesdays and Fridays, and there's only one Wednesday and Friday left in the exhibition. It has been the distinct pleasure of my short career to have worked on this exhibition. And as a curator of Crystal Bridges and of State of the Art, I'm incredibly proud of our community and our community's participation in our public programs over the course of this show, which have brought to Northwest Arkansas more than half of the 100+ artists featured in State of the Art. So congratulations to you. That's an amazing achievement. I'd really like to extend my gratitude for the support of our museum members, especially. How many of your members are in here? Yes. Okay, so am I. And our sponsors. And to give a special thank you to our passionate and dedicated team of museum staff and volunteers in making educational programs possible. You know, I get to, trot up here and smile and laugh, but, someone had to put this here and that there, and to make this thing come down. That's our dedicated staff and volunteers, and the myriad programs that you've enjoyed over the course of this exhibition and that you will continue to enjoy as we continue as an institution are because of their dedication. So, holler. But we're all here tonight for a very special reason. I'm honored with the opportunity to introduce state-of-the-art artist Vanessa German and the president of the Northwest Arkansas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Council, Beverly Keown. The council's mission is to continue to advance and promote the dream, life, and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which emphasizes love and action. The council solicits and encourages all Northwest Arkansas residents and communities to participate and contribute to the celebration of King's message, such as the council's local Dream Keepers teen youth group. The council has also embarked on a long-term friendship with Crystal Bridges to explore the museum as a platform in spreading hopes and dreams through the power of art. Hopes and dreams through the power of art. That's something we do here. And that's something that Vanessa German does as well. Vanessa lives and works in the Homewood community of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I showed up on her doorstep along with my co-curator, Don Bacigalupi, who is here tonight with his family. And it was rainy and pretty cold. And up to that point, I'd probably been to, 500, 600 artists across the country in something like 25, 30 cities. And to be frank with you, we were a little apprehensive to show up in a predominantly black neighborhood in a shiny rental car, two white guys in it with a camera. It was a moment where we looked at each other and we thought, okay, we're doing this. When you showed up in front of Vanessa German's home, there are signs populating the yard. Stop shooting. We love you. There are flowers, colorful, numerous, bountiful. It's a bright spot in a place that needs it. Vanessa German is a powerful advocate for art and its power to heal, to bring people together under the rubric of love and creativity. She's a vigorous advocate for children in her neighborhood, creating safe spaces for art making amidst violence and danger. In recent years, she's launched the Art House, a formerly derelict HUD home that was once the site of violence against children. At the Art House, which we saw on a drizzly Tuesday, she hosts scores of neighborhood children daily to create beauty, to build self-esteem, and to offer vantage points beyond their circumstances. It's an important gesture, and it's one that galvanized Don and I over the course of our research travels. You know, my work, I'm incredibly honored to do what I do. I get to talk to artists, I get to hear what they're about, I get to put them on a stage and in conversation with a whole bunch of other ones and see what happens. There's great hope in that. But you know what? It takes a lot of work too. And you all have, you know, things that you face in your everyday life. There's a kind of grind to life. You know, you get used to a way of doing things. It's like that on the road when you're researching art too. But the morning that I showed up at Vanessa German's door, I woke up again. I realized what the power of art can do in a community that needs it. And you know what? All of our communities need it. Vanessa has performed and exhibited her work widely since 2005. But my most, well, I have two favorite performances of Vanessa's. One was when we walked into her foyer and I took out a camera and I said, "Can we record you?" And Vanessa said, "Do you want me to sing?" Yes, that would be great. But she also very graciously accepted our invitation to introduce one President Bill Clinton at our recent event, The Summit, where we brought together thought leaders from across the country to talk about the issues that are raised by this very important exhibition. And you know what happened when Bill Clinton got up on this very stage after Vanessa German? He had to tear up his notes and start again, because her message is that powerful and that important to hear. Her recent exhibitions include right here at State of the Art, also at the Andy Warhol Museum, the American Visionary Art Museum, and the Carnegie Museum of Art. It is my great honor to welcome to the stage this special interview between Vanessa and Beverly. Please join me in welcoming them tonight.
Thank you. I must say it's such a pleasure for me to be here tonight, not only to kind of share with you guys about the Northwest Arkansas Martin Luther King Planning Council, which I'm proudly a member of. It's because this has given me an opportunity to meet Vanessa. And as I was sharing with her, I thumbed through her website last night and love front porch. That just drew me in. It just captured my heart. But I would like to share with some of you all, just in case if you've never heard of the Northwest Arkansas Martin Luther King Planning Council, and it's centralized in Fayetteville, but we have council members that are residents of Bentonville, Springdale, Rogers, and Fayetteville. And many people, you know, when you hear about it, you automatically think, oh, it's just for black people. But that's not the case. You know, our goal and our mission and our purpose is to make sure that everyone knows that Dr. King was all about bringing all generations, all people of background, color, race, religion. It's so much deeper than the exterior of our skin. But our purpose is to make sure for those students who do not have the financial backing or the means, or their parents don't have it, is to make sure that we can help jumpstart their education. You would be very surprised at the number of students that we have from Rogers, Springdale, Bentonville, and Fayetteville as well. The number of students that apply for these scholarships, and we have the criteria so low, you know, where we try and make it very possible for them to get a scholarship. And this is because we want everyone to know that it doesn't matter if your parents have the financial means or background to send you to school. We just want you to have that drive, that thought process, and hoping that we can help maybe change the environment of some of the students if they come in from a rough neighborhood or wherever, you know. We just want to let them know you are important, your dreams do matter, your dreams can make a difference, and so all you have to do is just apply yourself. Reach out through your schools or your councils or your counselors at school and say, hey, do not look at it that I don't know who he was or anything like that. Just know that this could be a jump start to some child's education. And I take this time to share this with you all because all of our funds come from volunteers or companies, organizations such as you all. And typically we try and give out at least 25 $1,000 scholarships each year to high school students, undergraduate students, and graduate students. And so it's very important that you know why we're doing it, and that we're doing it, the money goes strictly to those students or to the universities, the U of A, it could be the Northwest Arkansas Community College. That's where we're sending our students, or it could be wherever they choose to go to. So we're trying to make a difference in the community. We get involved with doing community activities. One of the things that we're doing on Saturday, the 18th, we're doing a blanket drive. And this is for individuals where we provide blankets for the homeless, for shelters. And so we're doing so many different things. And so that's why I take this time out to share with you all. It's a care project where it's going to be held at the St. James Baptist Church located in Fayetteville off of North Street. And the time will be from 9 o'clock, to 12 o'clock, noon. And if you have any essentials, personal essentials for babies, diapers, whatever you would like to share, bring by, because it does go to the homeless shelters. It goes to, it's a care project, so it goes to children's shelters. So we're trying to make a difference and help in the community in various ways. And then on next Tuesday night, the 13th, many of you may have already heard about it, but the movie Selma will be presented at the Malco Theater in Fayetteville at 6:30, and the tickets are $11. So I'm excited about attending that, and I hope some of you will be able to attend as well. And then on Sunday, which is Sunday, January 18th, and I'm sorry, I gave you the wrong date for that Saturday event, that was the 17th. On the 18th, we will have a memorial service at the St. James Baptist Church for Dr. Martin Luther King, and this is where we annually have a memorial service, and it's a church service where we'll have singing, we'll have a speaker as well. That program starts at 3 o'clock, and we would love for you to be in attendance if you can. And then on the 19th, we will have a youth breakfast, and this is for the MLK Dream Keepers, and the ages are from 6 to 18 years of age. And what we do is bring the Northwest Arkansas students together, those who are out of school on that day. And there are some, as you know, some school districts here in the Northwest Arkansas area, they still do not recognize Dr. Martin Luther King holiday as a holiday. And for those who do recognize it, they do not educate their children, meaning the schools, as to the significance of the holiday. And during that time on the holiday, we ask that, students get involved in the march that the university, the U of A, helped to sponsor, because it's more than just a holiday. It's about bringing everybody together, marching together, because we're trying to show unity and the purpose and the mission of allowing Dr. King's legacy to live on through us, and knowing the value and the purpose of it. Not that we're celebrating Dr. King, the image of Dr. King, is trying to make a difference in our everyday life among us. And we want to educate everybody as to why it is so important for us all to exist together, recognize each other, and look beyond the exterior of our complexion. And so that's always a very, very fulfilled day for us. We'll have youth speakers, and that event is always held at the University of Arkansas at the Alumni House. And then after that, we'll do the march that starts at the Walton Arts Center. I'm sorry, it does. It starts at the location in the parking lot of the Walton Arts Center, and then we'll march up to the U of A. And then we will commence with the annual banquet at 7 p.m. at the Town Center. And that's always a huge event, and that's where we will disperse the 25 individual $1,000 scholarships to schools throughout Northwest Arkansas, Bentonville, Rogers, Springdale, and Fayetteville. And you would be very surprised to know the majority of the scholarships that we do issue out, the majority go to white students, Hispanics, people of all races. So it tells you that we're trying our best to make a difference in that way, and just make sure that people know it's not just for African American students or people. So thank you, and I hope that, you know, some of you, if not all of you, will be able to come out and support us this year. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. It's good to be back at Crystal Bridges. I am so grateful from my heart and my soul to be here and to have work in this beautiful, inspiring, soulful museum, and to have met really courageous people, to have met Don and Chad, who had, and all of the staff and the support people here who had the courage to not just talk about something, but to put the miles and the heart on the road to make it happen. And I feel really lucky to be one of the 102 artists who are in this exhibition. We're gonna begin tonight's event with a performance.
I was born by the river in a little tent, and oh, just like that river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. 'Cause oh, I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it will.
The kids in my neighborhood want to know why I live in my neighborhood. They see me on the street after school, and they all do a double take. They say, Miss Vanessa, we didn't know that you lived in this neighborhood too. They say, we thought that you lived someplace where people sound the way you sound when you speak. Someplace, clean streets, safe nights, people not always yelling and screaming and fighting and knifing and shooting and leaving dead bodies to be found in Baker's parking lot come morning. They say, Miss Vanessa, we thought that you lived someplace with good sidewalks. someplace where the sidewalks just ran on and on and on in neat straight rows and didn't crumble off the curb like the crust of old stale bread, too dangerous to walk on without twisting your knee, busting your ankles, and getting tangled up in the weeds and the broken glass of houses on lots that nobody cares about anymore. Miss Vanessa, really, we imagined that you lived someplace that was as neat and precise as the diction you insist our haiku must clip with when we recite out loud in poetry class. So tell us, Miss Vanessa, what has happened to you to make you have to live in this neighborhood too? And I say, I live in this neighborhood because you live in this neighborhood. You are good and you are strong and you are nice and you like to sing and dance and laugh and write poems, and I like to sing and dance and laugh and write poems too, so why would I not want to live in this neighborhood? And they say, because it's a bad neighborhood. Bad people live here and they do bad things. They have guns and they run drugs, and there is prostitution. Even on Sundays, the cars drive too fast. There is trash all up and down the street, and nobody seems to care that nothing around here is pretty. I say, what about us? We live here. We're pretty. And we're not bad. Bad's determined by what you do and not by where you live. Bad is a story that you choose to tell about yourself through your behavior. It's determined by your action, not your address. So I tell them, listen, it's not a surprise to me that there are some people who live in this neighborhood who have been convinced to believe that their life is to this world as the pothole is to the street, a pit, something fit only to be swerved around, to be gone over, to be filled in, to be seamless, and then to be forgotten about forever. I say it doesn't surprise me that we live around people who have been convinced to believe that they are nothing, that their life is to this world like the vacant house is, fit only to be condemned and demolished and then be run over and forgotten about forever. It's not a surprise to me that there are people who live in this neighborhood who have been convinced to believe that their life is simply a reflection of the things that they see in the physical world around them. But I tell them, listen, I don't believe that my life is a reflection of the things that I just see in the physical world around me unless I'm looking at you. Unless we are standing eye to eye, iris to iris, a light and a fire with so much glow we could outburn and outshow an entire cosmos of galaxies and quasars. The universe has nothing on us. It rises up. I say, don't you see? We are so brilliant. We could levitate up this cracked and crumbling concrete and take the things that we see in the physical world around us not as evidence of who we are and what we are meant to do and be, but we can take it all as ingredients to fill the pot, to fuel the cell and the momentum and the fire of our creativity so that we can build new places for the stories that we are making for ourselves today. Sometimes I have to bend down real low and make it clear and say, listen, when I look at you, I don't see filth. When I look at you, I do not see someone only fit to be chalk-lined on the street. When I look at you, I do not see someone who is fit only for a future of failure. I say, when I look at you, I hear music. I hear the sound of robotic science tripping out the tips of your fingers when you, with lightning speed, send 3 messages simultaneously from your smartphone. I said, when I look at you, I hear jazz. I see pop lock and ballet and opera and Yo-Yo Ma's inspiration simultaneously. When I look at you, I do not see someone fit only to be condemned and demolished and then forgotten about forever. So stop acting like that. When I look at you, I see light and music and love. And I tell kids all the time, listen, you need to know that we believe in you. We believe in you. When we look at you, we want you to rise up and to create the new things. I tell kids all the time, go home and start making new stories for the new places that we are making for ourselves. I say, go home and invent for us indestructible tennis shoes. Engineer for us a pedestrian walkway over the old trolley station. Go home and be about making new things. And I tell kids, listen, I live in this neighborhood to hold the space for the possibility that what you make of yourself will come not in spite of this place, but because of it. So go home and make and do and write and create so that one day when I am 88 years old living in my geriatric colony on Mars, I can look at the floating flat screen in front of my face and scream when I see you and say, there she is. I'll say, she made it. She did it. She made it. And I'll tell all of the old people around me that I knew you because we all lived on the same street, in the same neighborhood. Thanks.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
We love you, Vanessa.
I love you too. Thank you.
I mean, that was simply awesome, just awesome. And just to hear Vanessa speak, I know for me, and I'm sure many of you, if we had the opportunity to visit where Vanessa lives, I don't think I would be afraid because, you know, I just admire you for sharing with the world where you live. And the thing that is fascinating to me is Love Front Porch. Like I told her, I love the title. And I'm not sure if we could even put that up on the screen, but I would like for them to see Love Front Porch. And you will, you know, it will give you an idea why I say that, because as I was scanning through her website last night, I mean, it just really just captured me.
Oh, sorry, it's a little out of order.
And that's okay. That's okay. Because just to share with you guys, and when I saw it, I told her, not just saying that it just resonated to me, is because I have to tell you guys, I was born in '55. And I was born in a house that had a porch just like that. It didn't have the different colors of the paint on there. I'm from a rural area. I'm from the farm. My mom was a domestic houseworker. My dad was a sharecropper. And then to see someone of her caliber in 2015, and then to know that there are homes that still exist like that, and then to have someone that has such a passion, that's not ashamed, and you want to share with the world that there's love on the front porch. And if you can see on the side of the porch over there, you can see those planks, and I'm sure that some of you all in here can remember or have seen some homes like that. And so, whereas many of us, you know, we would be ashamed of it. But, you know, you can just see that she's so proud of it. And I would just like for you to share with us, you know, what brings you your greatest joy about having those children from various backgrounds, and I'm just imagining in the area, because you also stated on your website that there are some kids sometimes in the alleyway, and they call themselves fighting, so they think. And then, but you've you've somehow drawn some of those children in, and they've taken up artistry. Instead of fighting in the alley, being a part of a gang, they want to paint. So what is it about you that the kids see?
So a couple of things that I want to speak to. What would happen in the alleyways and what I see happen still in some behaviors is that kids, they stand on this kind of like street prestige of being able to fight well, and being able to like give good fight verbally and physically. And so what I noticed when I used to live up the street before I moved in this house, I've just progressively moved down the street in my neighborhood. This is a block down from where I used to live in a row house up the street. I remember the kids would play gang. It was all these girls, and there would be sometimes, so a couple things happened. The younger kids would play gang, and they would make like what the older girls were doing. And just a little background is, you've heard of a website called World Star Hip Hop? World Star? You heard words, some of you. So there's this site that exists called World Star, and there are girls in my neighborhood who will, you fight and film the fight, and then put it on World Star, and they would one-up these fights. And so then the little kids would, they would act out what like the 15 and 16-year-olds were doing, and they would fight, and they would literally stop traffic. They would start fighting on the sidewalk, and they would fight into the middle of the street and it would stop buses, and until somebody called the police. And so the younger girls, I would see them kind of doing the theater of the fight. And when I would work, I won't go into too much background about Love Front Porch, but I live in Pittsburgh, and so there's a Pittsburgh basement. The ceilings are low, and I would work in my studio, and the sculptures would get too big for the studio, so I would pull them out onto the front porch. So it's not that kids were attracted to me. It's not like I'm like the Legend of Bagger Vance, and I got some like Negro black magic like hovering over my head or anything like that, because that's not true. And it's not, and I know it's not true because kids would watch me work on my front porch, and they would say, "Oh, Miss Vanessa, can we do what you're doing?" And I must have told them no for as long as I could tell them no, because I was like, I don't even like kids. I definitely don't want you hanging out on my front porch. No, really, that had been my narrative. I would see kids, and I'd be like, "Ooh, who wants one of those?" Like, they're just always around, and they need so much, and you gotta love them all the time, But honestly, that was like an old, fearful way that I actually thought about engaging with children, because I was in environments where people would always talk about how bad kids were. So I would work on sculptures on my front porch, and kids would come and they would want to do what I was doing. And they would say, "Why are you so dirty?" Because I would be wearing work clothes, and they would eventually got to the place where they would literally throw themselves over my fence and act like it was an accident. They're so clever, they would be like, "Oops, I'm in your yard now." "Oops, I'm touching your sculpture. I guess I should help you." There was a whole bunch of like progressive oopses that led children further and further up the front porch. But to speak to why I call it Love Front Porch, I would, since I was a little girl, and I grew up in Los Angeles, and I remember the Joffrey Ballet coming to my school in Los Angeles, and I watched a dancer perform on stage with a chair and a Martin Luther King Jr. speech. And I remember listening to the sound of Dr. King's voice and hearing something that had so much more resonance and dimension than the speech that I heard coming out of other people's mouths. And I would try to put my finger on what it was that I was hearing, because I wasn't just hearing, I didn't feel like I was just hearing sound. I felt something inside of myself as a child. And I would, as I got older, and I would always listen to Dr. King's speeches, and I would feel something when I heard him. And I heard him give, I heard a recording of the speech that he gave in '55 in Mississippi, in Alabama, after Emmett Till's murder. And in this speech, he said, there's a power in love that the world has not discovered yet. And he says, someday, somewhere, someone must have the sense enough and morality enough to cut off the chains of hate and evil in this universe. And love is the only way that you can do that. And when he said it, I realized that what I was hearing was the sound of love. That sound, that the gathering up of creative understanding, redemptive, transformative goodwill to the voice. Inside of that voice is what I heard. And I had always would talk about love and the power of love and the power of love. And I realized that I was just saying it. I wasn't doing anything. And so when I gave in to the kids' demands to have creative space where I was having creative space, I began to experience a dimension of love that literally and kind of miraculously began to like unfurl its petals. So kids would start coming to my house at like 8:30, 8:45 in the morning in the summer, and they would knock and they would say, Miss Vanessa, are you going to open your porch today? Miss Vanessa, are we making art today? I would have kids come and ask to make something very specific. They would come and they would say, I would like to paint the night sky with stars because I miss Georgia. And I realized that we were sharing, and creating love. And in my experience, love will replicate itself. It will replicate and replicate and replicate and unfurl new limbs and continue to bear fruit in ways that we don't have the ability to even language. And I know this because when I was in my studio, when I work in my studio, when I'm creating, when I'm down in the basement that Don and Chad came to with like the 5'8" ceiling, and I'm making choices in my studio, I feel like I am living inside of, and I am ensconced internally and externally with the breath and the texture of love. And I acknowledged that when I was in my studio, that that's what was happening for me, that I was in love. And then when that came out onto the front porch and other people engaged with it, it began to replicate itself. So kids would see their friends get off the bus and walk up the street, and they would say, hey, Lele, you want to come and make art? Just tell your mom you're going to be at Miss Vanessa's, and I'll help you. So I would work on sculptures, and then the children would invite their friends and would invite more. And so I called it Love Front Porch because I needed to find a way to keep doing it, so I needed to raise some money, and we needed a name. And so I was like, oh, just say what it is. So Love Front Porch.
Awesome, awesome. It's awesome. I mean, can't you just feel the passion as she just portrays it and just tells us about it, you know? And it just really drew me in. And I mean, I love the front porch. I do. It's just amazing. And I think it's just awesome what you're doing. And it's drawing other children in, and other children are drawing other children in, and other children are drawing those children in, and that's how we help change the world.
Yeah, people always ask me, they're like, what do you teach the kids, and how do you show them how to be creative? I'm like, they're children. You know, for me, it's kind of like an elemental inclination to create things and to be curious and then to follow that winding, adventurous path of the idea. Exactly. And so I would have to work on my porch, and I would say, listen, I have to finish this sculpture. And they'd be like, well, Miss Vanessa, what should I make? And I would say, you need to start with a color that you like. That's all I can tell you, because I'm at work right now. And then this watching someone give themselves permission.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So Vanessa, if you don't mind,
Yes.
if we could go to one of your pieces.
Okay.
And if we could share that with the audience.
So I'm going to show you some of my newest work.
And can you maximize it a little bit?
Can I? No. Sorry. I wish I could, actually.
That is okay, because I'm hoping that you all can see where there's a clock in there.
There is, but we can, so I can tell you what's in it?
Yes.
Do you want to ask a question about it so I can do it
I would like for you to just
pointedly?
speak to it.
I'll speak to it. I can do that.
And just kind of help, because just help us to see through your eyes.
That I can do. Let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
do it. This piece is called Shared Grief. I had a residency this year at the Glass Center, the Pittsburgh Glass Center, and the blue and the clear, the whitish that you see on the figures are hand-blown glass vessels that are filled with words and names and phrases that people sent to me from around the world. And I asked people simply to send in words or phrases or names that inspire an environment of healing. Actually, it was simpler than that. I said, send me healing, loving, forgiving words. And some of those, so when you look at that sculpture, you can look inside of it, you can see that one of them just says Roland. And so I would write the name on a piece of fabric. We would write the text, and then roll it up and insert it into the bottles. Because it's a figure, the two figures are holding hands and one of them is stepping off the piece. There's one figure that's standing on one foot. And it's called Shared Grief, or contemplating the end through bridge abutments and walking out into the middle of traffic. And I think about, and at the time I was, really, a lot of unbearable things were happening in the neighborhood. Just all around, we had witnessed a murder, and we didn't see this, a man got shot. Me and my partner woke up, I called 911, I knew the man who was laying in the street, I knew the woman who was screaming, I knew, but we watched this man's body lay in the street for 4 hours, like how Mike Brown, they say, he laid uncovered in the street. And we stayed with this man's body for 4 hours. But that man answered the front door of the house of one of the kids who was the first kid who insisted and threw herself over the fence at my house and said, I want to make art. He answered the front door, and he sold crack. And I knew that when he answered the front door at her house, that things were going wrong. Things went very wrong. Her mother ended up dying. He ended up getting killed. Another person ended up getting killed. And the trauma from that was kind of like this unspeakable trauma. I think people assume that when you live around the kind of street violence that you hear about on the news, that you become immune, that there's like a different place that's carved out in your being that allows you to like manage it as though it is something that you just saw on television, but that's not true. Like the sound of things stays with you. The sound, like I can't hear people argue without having like an adrenaline rush, and and so I feel so lucky to be an artist. I feel so saved by art that I could create this piece that spoke to how unbearable it is. And nobody wants to hear that. Like people just want to be like, oh man, somebody got killed. It's a hard road. We going on. But nobody wants to hear how unbearable it is to digest it. And then to have to go on and walk by places in the street where you watched someone die. but I have this work that I can create. And so I'm so selfish. I just ask people around the world for 7 days to send me healing, loving, forgiving words. And every time I looked at one of those words, and every time I read it, every time I wrote something down, I let that come to me. And so this piece speaks to that. And they're standing on, it's an old baby high chair, a piece of wood that I found in the alleyway. People use the alleyways in my neighborhood as dump sites. A lot from like home construction projects, so we find a lot of great pieces of like wood from the houses that are being demolished around. All these hand-blown vast vessels. The piece with the zebra on its head has an old coin change maker in the center of the chest, and it says change maker. And the other piece has a clock, and everything on the sculptures, I won't go into it in much more detail, but everything means something. Everything means something. Everything has purpose. Everything is there for both me personally and for the viewer. All of this work has, for me, they're power figures. They are here to do something. They have done something. They have been something for me. And then lots of voices and lots of people helped contribute to this. We installed this the week that my mother died, too. This is a pair of tennis shoes that I found in the alleyway behind the house. And I got this, and I have been getting the message in a lot of ways that we're not supposed to talk about our grief. And as a Black artist, you're not supposed to like express through your art grief or, like outrage, unbearableness, any sense, because you're supposed to be above that. You're supposed to like create art that is transcendent. Like I've gotten that message in so many ways that like that's not what a Black artist should do. And that's not, but I was like, listen, I have to stay alive. And so this is another work that speaks to the layers of tragedy. And all of my work has resonance that is both spiritual, political, psychological, socioeconomic, that also exists in the spectrum of past, present, and future. Because I feel like the pieces are making a new future. And this is a work you can see up closer. There are more hand-blown glass vessels that are filled with the dreadlocks of my friend. My friend cut off his dreadlocks, and he's a gay male professor therapist. And I thought, dude, you were like the rarest person that I know. But I think about how he's a healer, he's a family therapist. And he's Black, and he's gay, and he cut off his locks. And I was like, all of your wisdom is in these locks. And put them into this work that, this is.
So Vanessa,
yes.
Before you move on from this one, what's the significance behind him? Is he holding a doll or something?
It's a figure that is holding another figure.
Okay.
And they're
and the
just
stop
like
sign.
being and being surrounded by so much violence and so much death, and also the expectation and the like word to mouth expectation that it's not something that you talk about. It's not something that you you should just be able to brush it off. Like so many Black people die at the hands of guns and at the hands of other things that you should be used to it by now. And like don't think about it. If you think about it or talk about it or create work about it, you will perpetuate it. But the reality for me is that it was stunning, the loss of life. Like I have a great memory because I'm always memorizing poems. Like 6 years ago in Pittsburgh, a 9-year-old was shot and died in a vacant lot because people heard the shot, but nobody came for him, and they found him 3 days later. And he died from a leg wound. And this past summer, that happened again. It was an older kid, but got shot and fell in the lot of a vacant lot where the grass had grown up, and no one found him. 3 days later, gets shot on a Friday and come Monday. And it was so stunning that it was the absence of grief and outrage and shock were so stunning to me. Then it was accumulating in me because I was also, this was the summer where, as far as I'm concerned, the worst thing happened. You wake up at 5:04 in the morning with someone shooting on your, I have this beautiful front porch and then someone shooting right there. And you go outside and see somebody just laying with a stillness that is so still. And then to be expected to be like, this is the street, that's what happens. It was too much. And then as the summer progressed, and then as things happened in Ferguson and things happened other places, and I have a series of sculptures that are figures just holding and weeping over, and expressing this almost unbearable grief that hadn't been public or hadn't been present. And I'm a self-taught artist, so I do what I have to do to stay alive. Like my soul and my heart and for my body to stay alive, I must create these things. And a lot of times it's difficult for me because I feel like I'm creating it kind of in an art world, and for a world that's like, that, has a kind of epidemic of feellessness, like we don't want to feel these things. And so I always have to go through this moments of courage where I'm like, well, I know why I have to make it, and and I have to be prepared for the response of people who are like, here it is, more grief.
But I think I can definitely speak for, I'm pretty sure the majority of everybody in the room. We admire your bravery for the work that you're doing. I've never been to Pittsburgh, but I admire what you're doing in your art because it speaks to you whenever you see any piece of your art. You have to zoom in and just look at it, and it obviously tells a story. And I mean, you can see from the tears, the crying, it tells a story. And I knew that there was the representation of an individual there, and the stop sign, it just kind of calls out to you saying, let's stop the violence, let's stop, stop the shooting, And so I just want you to know we admire you. And I think you're very brave to do what you're doing. And it's reaching people, it's reaching children, and you're here and you're reaching us, because one of the questions that I had for her was, how does your artwork relate to what Dr. King's message would portray to all of us today? But it's obvious in your work. And listening to you speak and elaborate tonight, she's already spoken to it, and it starts with us, Any of our porches can be Love Front Porch.
I think that's if you're lucky enough to even have a welcome mat, I feel like there it is. Yeah. I feel like there's, a place where everyone has the power. So you know how Dr. King said, like, when it's my time, when it's my time to go, I don't want you to say that, oh, he was a Nobel Prize winner. I don't want you to say that he led marches. I want you to say that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. tried to love somebody, and that he was a drum major for justice, right? So that speech. But I think about how, one of the things that he was saying in the Drum Major for Justice speech and in a lot of his life and work is that you can do that. You can be a drum major of justice from your own front porch. You could be the drum major of justice for a 6-block radius. You could be the drum major of justice for like the 6 offices around you. and not that kind of unreachable, like maybe like thinking about justice in the way that you have to, stand up on podiums and lead speeches and do that, but to be courageous and loving and generous of your spirit, and to be feelers, to be people who feel and who, are in a daily and in everyday way courageous. Otherwise, it's just another day.
Mm-hmm.